I drop the bag of groceries on Mom's kitchen counter, the familiar rustle of paper and clink of canned goods echoing through the quiet house. Another paycheck, another portion dedicated to keeping her and Landon afloat. "Mom?" I call out, unloading fresh vegetables I can barely afford for myself. "I brought the things you asked for." The house answers with silence. I glance at my watch. She should be home. After working 12 hours of overtime this week to afford these extra groceries, the last thing I need is to miss her entirely. I place the coffee I brought her on the counter and make my way toward her study, where a light glows beneath the door. As I push it open, the scent of her perfume mingles with the musty smell of old papers. "Mom, I'm just going to leave these." My words catch as I notice the document spread across her desk, the ink still fresh enough to gleam under the lamplight. Legal language jumps out in stark black letters. Last will and testament. And further down, all property and assets to my beloved son, Landon Gregory Foster. My coffee mug slips from my fingers, shattering against the hardwood floor. Coffee splashes my ankles, but I barely feel it. The words blur as I blink rapidly, trying to make sense of what I'm seeing. The date at the bottom is from yesterday. "Oh, you weren't supposed to see that." I whirl around to find Brittany leaning against the doorframe, her lips curved into a smile that doesn't reach her eyes. She's wearing a blouse I recognize from a boutique downtown, one I've admired, but couldn't justify spending a week's worth of groceries on. "What is this?" My voice sounds foreign to my own ears. Brittany shrugs, examining her manicured nails. "This is Landon's house now. Elaine signed it over." The room spins slightly as memories from the past months cascade through my mind. Dad's funeral, where Mom clung to Landon's arm, barely acknowledging my presence as I stood alone by the casket. Dad, the only one who ever made me feel like I belonged in this family. The dinner afterward, when Mom first mentioned her financial struggles, her eyes fixed solely on me as she detailed the mounting bills. "Natalie? What happened?" Mom appears behind Brittany, her gaze dropping to the shattered mug before rising to the document on her desk. Her face pales slightly. "You wrote me out." The words feel like stones in my mouth. "I've been sending you $1,200 every month since Dad died. I postponed buying my own house to help you keep this one, and you wrote me out?" Mom steps into the room, her shoulders straightening defensively. "You make good money, Natalie. Landon needs security more than you do." I stare at her, truly seeing her for perhaps the first time. "Security? I work 60 hours a week while he plays video games in the basement." "He's still finding his path," she snaps. My hand shakes as I pull out my phone, opening my banking app. The scheduled transfer for tomorrow, another $1,200, stares back at me. My finger hovers over the cancel button. "What are you doing?" Mom's voice sharpens. "What does it look like?" My voice steadies as I press cancel, watching the confirmation appear. "I'm done." "Elaine?" Brittany calls down the hallway. "I think we need Landon." Mom's eyes narrow. "Landon, come upstairs. Your sister is being difficult." Heavy footsteps thunder up the stairs. I feel a momentary pinch of grief. Dad's workshop is down there, the space where he taught me to build birdhouses and repair furniture. The last physical connection I have to him, now apparently belonging to my half-brother who never showed the slightest interest in Dad's craftsmanship. Landon appears, his hair disheveled, controller marks still pressed into his palms. "What's going on?" "Your sister found the will," Mom says, as if I've committed some terrible invasion of privacy by discovering their betrayal. As they form a united front before me, a cold clarity washes over me. I've never been a daughter to her. I've been a resource, a reliable income stream. The responsible one who could be counted on to sacrifice while Landon received everything. "We need to talk about this like adults," Mom says, her tone switching to the soothing one she uses when she wants something. "Family helps family." I look at the three of them, standing together against me, and feel something inside me finally, irrevocably break. I step back from the confrontation in Mom's study, needing a moment to process what just happened. My mind races as I walk through the house that once felt like home. Now everything looks different, like I'm seeing it through a stranger's eyes for the first time. The living room catches my attention. A massive 65-inch television dominates the wall where Dad's modest 42-inch used to hang. The sleek black screen reflects my stunned expression as I approach it. Next to it sits a gaming console I recognize from advertisements, the premium model that costs nearly a month of my rent. My eyes drift to Brittany's designer purse tossed carelessly on the coffee table. The receipt sticks out from an outer pocket. I shouldn't look. I know I shouldn't. But my fingers reach for it anyway. $300 for a salon visit, paid from the joint account I transfer money into every month. My knees weaken. I sink onto the stairs, pressing my fingertips against my temples as if I could physically hold my thoughts together. The realization hits me with physical force. My overtime hours, my postponed house down payment, my exhaustion, all of it has been funding Landon and Brittany's leisurely lifestyle while I struggle to build my own life. Natalie? Mom's voice comes from behind me. We need to talk about this rationally. I turn to see them arranged on the couch, a united front. Mom in the center, Landon slouched beside her. Brittany perched on the armrest wearing a blouse I've admired in the boutique window downtown. The one I calculated would cost me 3 days of work. When did you create the will? I ask, my voice steadier than I feel. Mom glances at Landon before answering. Shortly after your father passed, it seemed prudent to get affairs in order. While I was helping you pay the mortgage, not a question. Landon shifts uncomfortably. Look, it's not personal, it's just about security. Have you even been looking for work? The words escape before I can stop them. His laugh holds no humor. Not for months. Why bother when we're doing fine? Brittany twirls a strand of freshly highlighted hair. We're actually planning a trip to Cancun next month. You should see the resort we booked, infinity pools overlooking the ocean. The room spins slightly. You're going to Cancun with my money. It's not your money once you give it to us, Brittany says with a shrug. That's how gifts work. I do the math quickly in my head. $28,000. That's how much I've sent them since Dad died. $28,000 that should have been in my house fund, my retirement account, my emergency savings. I could have completed my project management certification, I whisper, more to myself than to them. I would have qualified for a promotion. Always so career-focused, Mom sighs. Just like your father, never understanding the importance of family. The words strike like a physical blow. Dad was the only one who ever made me feel like family. Landon leans forward, his expression hardening. Speaking of Dad, I've been thinking those old workshop tools take up too much space. Might sell them if things get tight around here. I freeze. Dad's workshop. The place where he taught me to sand wood until it felt like silk. Where he showed me how to build something lasting with my own hands. The one place in this house that still holds his presence. You wouldn't. My voice sounds distant to my own ears. Wouldn't I? Landon's eyes narrow. They're just collecting dust down there. Your selfishness would disappoint your father, Mom adds quietly. After everything we've done for you. Something in me snaps. I stand, legs suddenly steady. I need some air. I move past them, down the hallway toward the basement door. No one follows me as I descend the stairs to Dad's workshop. The familiar scent of sawdust and lemon oil brings tears to my eyes. I run my hand over his workbench, remembering how he stood beside me, guiding my hands as I learned to use each tool. My fingers brush against a drawer I'd forgotten about, the one where he kept important papers. It's unlocked. Inside, a yellow document catches my eye. I pull it out with trembling hands. Dad's original will, dated 3 years ago. The words blur through my tears, but one section stands crystal clear. To my daughter Natalie, I leave all tools and equipment from my workshop, along with my personal effects. As I hold that yellowed paper in my hands, I wonder if I should confront them immediately with this evidence or quietly collect what was rightfully mine and walk away. Exposing their lies might bring temporary satisfaction, but a clean break might offer lasting peace. What would you do when you discover the family that should protect you has been exploiting you all along? The paper trembles in my grip as I fold it carefully and slip it into my pocket. Upstairs, I can hear them talking, planning, calculating without a thought for what they've taken from me beyond the money. I stand among Dad's beloved tools, the only inheritance that truly matters, and make my decision. 3 days later, I delete the third email from Mom without reading it, but the subject line burns in my mind anyway. Your family needs you. My finger hovers over the trash icon on my phone, hesitating before tapping decisively. That makes 15 deleted messages this week alone. My phone vibrates with a text notification. Aunt Carol this time. Natalie, please call your mother. She's beside herself with worry. The irony almost makes me laugh. Mom managed just fine for weeks without showing a hint of concern for my feelings, but now that her financial pipeline is cut off, Suddenly, I'm the one causing distress. I'm halfway through composing a response when another message arrives, this one from Uncle Frank. Family supports family. Your father would be disappointed. The words land like a slap. They didn't know Dad like I did. They didn't see how he'd quietly slip me extra money when Mom favored Landon with new gaming equipment, while telling me college textbooks were too expensive. My phone buzzes again. A Facebook notification. Brittany has tagged me in a post. Some people only care about family when it benefits them. She's written above a meme about loyalty. The comment section brims with sympathetic responses, including several from extended family members who've known me since childhood. I switch off my phone entirely, sliding it into my desk drawer. The quarterly projections won't complete themselves, and I've already fallen behind this week. Natalie? I look up to find my boss, Richard, standing at my cubicle entrance, his expression carefully neutral. Do you have a minute? His office feels smaller than usual, the air conditioner humming too loudly in the silence as he closes the door. Is everything all right at home? He asks, settling into his chair. You seem distracted lately. Everything's fine, I answer automatically. The reason I ask is that your mother called the office this morning. Something about a family emergency? The room tilts slightly. She what? She seemed quite upset. Asked to speak with you directly. Richard shifts uncomfortably. I explained we don't transfer personal calls unless it's an actual emergency. It's not an emergency, I say, my voice tightening. It's manipulation. Richard blinks, clearly not expecting such directness. Well, I'm concerned about how it might affect your work. The Henderson account. I'll have it finished by tomorrow. I promise, already rising from my chair. And I apologize for the interruption. It won't happen again. Back at my desk, I open my browser and block Mom on all my social media accounts. Then I create a new document titled Financial Contributions and begin meticulously listing every transfer, every grocery delivery, every bill payment I've made on their behalf since Dad died. The total makes my stomach clench. That night, I jolt awake at 3:17 a.m., heart racing from a dream where I was drowning while Mom, Landon, and Brittany watched from shore, drinking cocktails purchased with my credit card. I reach for my phone instinctively, then stop myself. Whatever new messages await can stay unread until morning. The next day, I'm updating my LinkedIn profile when a notification appears. Mom has somehow found my professional contacts and sent messages about a family emergency requiring financial assistance. 2 colleagues have already forwarded her messages to me, their concern evident in their careful wording. Do you need to take some personal time? They ask. I'm composing a professional explanation that won't reflect poorly on me when a hand touches my shoulder. Later that day, working through lunch again? Margaret asks, setting her coffee mug on my desk. She's been with the company 20 years longer than me, her silver-streaked hair and confident posture commanding respect throughout the office. Just putting out fires, I reply, minimizing the email window. She glances at my phone screen where another text from Landon glows. Family drama? I hesitate, then nod. My brother did the same thing to me for years, she says quietly, her fingers tightening slightly on my shoulder. The guilt isn't yours to carry. Something in my chest loosens, just a fraction. For the first time in weeks, someone understands without needing the whole sordid story. The following Saturday, I pull into Mom's driveway, steeling myself. Dad's workshop sits in the detached garage, untouched since his death. I've come for his tools, the ones he promised would be mine someday. The door creaks open before I reach it. Mom stands in the entryway, arms crossed. Finally decided to remember where you live? She asks. I'm here for Dad's tools, I answer, walking past her toward the garage. You can't just take things because you want them, she calls, following me across the lawn. Everything here belongs to Landon now. The workshop smells like Dad's sawdust and the lemon oil he used on his wooden handles. I run my fingers over his workbench, remembering Saturday mornings spent at his side, learning to measure twice and cut once. Why can't you just help your brother? Mom demands from the doorway. He's sensitive. Not everyone can handle the real world like you. I grab an empty toolbox from the shelf and begin carefully selecting the chisels Dad used to teach me wood carving. That's because you never made him try. I reply, surprised by the steadiness in my voice. Dad would be heartbroken to see how you've turned him. You don't know what David would think, she snaps. But I do know. I remember Dad's disappointed sighs when Mom made excuses for Landon's behavior, the quiet conversations he and I had about responsibility while we worked on projects together. The realization washes over me like cold water. I've been chasing approval Mom never intended to give. Every financial sacrifice, every overtime shift, every delayed dream, none of it was ever going to make her love me the way she loves Landon. My back straightens as I continue packing tools, each one a memory of the only parent who truly saw me. The screen door slams as Landon emerges from the house, storming across the lawn. "You can't take that stuff," he shouts. "It's mine now." I continue working, wrapping Dad's favorite handplane in an old towel before placing it carefully in the box. "I never loved you the way I love Landon," Mom says flatly from the doorway. My hands pause for just a moment, then I continue packing, this truth finally spoken alludedly freeing rather than devastating. Later that evening, Margaret sits at my kitchen table, reading through the draft of a boundaries email I've composed for the extended family. "This is good," she says, making a small change to the wording. "Clear without being cruel." "Will it actually help?" I ask, pouring us both more tea. "It might not change their behavior," she admits, "but it will change how much access they have to you." Unlike my family's demands, Margaret's advice comes with no strings attached. She listens without interrupting, validates without qualification, and offers help without expecting payment. That night, I sleep through until morning for the first time in weeks. At work, my focus returns, the Henderson presentation receiving compliments from the entire team. The following week, I schedule a consultation with Patricia Winters, an attorney specializing in financial recovery. In my bag is Dad's handwritten letter, discovered tucked inside his toolbox, explicitly stating his wish for me to have his workshop tools and personal effects. As I walk into the attorney's office, my phone buzzes 3 times in rapid succession. Text messages from Landon, Mom, and Brittany arrive simultaneously, as if coordinated. I silence the phone without reading them and step through the door, ready to reclaim what's mine. That day, I spread my financial records across Mr. Peterson's polished mahogany desk, each document meticulously organized in chronological order. The spreadsheet of transfers sits prominently on top 23 months of faithful $1,200 payments highlighted in yellow. Below that, screenshots of text messages with timestamps, each one a manipulation masterpiece from Elaine. "I need your help with the electric bill this month, sweetie. Landon's job hunting is taking longer than expected. Could you possibly send next month's support early? The property taxes are due." I tap the third folder, my voice steadier than I expected. Here's the documentation of broken promises. Each time they assured me the money was for necessities, followed by evidence of their actual purchases. Mr. Peterson adjusts his reading glasses, reviewing each document with methodical precision. His office feels like a fortress, quiet, orderly, safe from the chaos my family created. The wall clock ticks softly, marking time I'll never get back. "Based on what you've provided, Miss Foster, you have grounds for financial recovery." He removes his glasses, meeting my gaze directly. "We can send certified letters requesting an itemized accounting of how your support funds were used." I nod, pulling out my phone. I'm ready to implement the next step. With 3 decisive taps, I block Elaine, Landon, and Brittany on every platform: social media, phone, email. The weight that lifts from my shoulders feels almost physical, like putting down a burden I've carried so long I'd forgotten it wasn't part of me. "It's done," I tell Mr. Peterson, surprised by the unfamiliar lightness in my voice. The doorbell rings that evening as I'm heating leftover pasta for dinner. Through the peephole, I see Landon shifting nervously from foot to foot. I crack the door without removing the security chain. "Mom's too distraught to function," he announces without preamble. "She hasn't eaten since yesterday. This is on you, Natalie. Please leave, Landon." His voice rises. "You can't just cut us off. We're family. Is everything okay over there?" Mrs. Abernathy, my 70-year-old neighbor, appears in her doorway, telephone visible in her hand. Landon pounds his fist against my doorframe. "Tell your lawyer to stop harassing us with those letters." Mrs. Abernathy disappears briefly, returning with Mr. Garcia from 4B. "Young man, I've called building security," she announces firmly. Landon stomps away, shouting about family loyalty. The elevator doors cut off his tirade mid-sentence. The next morning, Margaret forwards me a link. "Thought you should see this," her message reads. The GoFundMe page features a photo of Elaine looking appropriately distressed, captioned, "Abandoned by daughter during family crisis." The description details how I've heartlessly cut off support to my grieving mother and brother after my father's death. I'm still staring at it when my phone pings with an unfamiliar number. "Natalie, it's Jack Wilson. I worked with your dad at the hardware store for years." "Listen, Elaine pulled this same routine with David's brother after they married. Call me if you want the details." 3 more messages arrive before noon, each from people I barely remember, family friends, sharing eerily similar stories about Elaine's manipulation patterns. When my father's old friend Jack offered to mediate a family meeting, I hesitated. Would giving them one more chance honor David's memory, or would it just provide them another opportunity to manipulate me? How do you know when it's time to walk away for good? Saturday morning, Margaret and 2 coworkers meet me outside Elaine's house. The familiarity of the place hits me differently now, the chipped paint on the mailbox, the uneven stepping stones I memorized to avoid tripping as a child. "You don't have to do this alone," Margaret says, squeezing my arm gently. Inside, Elaine's eyes widen at the sight of my support team. She opens her mouth, then closes it without speaking. "I'm just here for my personal items," I explain calmly. With Margaret beside me, I methodically collect childhood photos, school mementos, and the blanket David made me for my 16th birthday. Elaine hovers nearby but remains uncharacteristically silent. The power of witnesses. Back home, I find an email notification from Mr. Peterson. He sent a formal cease and desist letter regarding Elaine's unannounced visit to my workplace yesterday. I hadn't even known she'd tried. My phone rings as I'm making dinner. Uncle Robert, Dad's younger brother, who always sent birthday cards but rarely visited. "Your cousin showed me that fundraiser Elaine posted," he says after brief pleasantries. "Something doesn't add up, Natalie. She's claiming medical expenses, but David had excellent life insurance specifically to cover that. The GoFundMe tally has stalled at $340, all from immediate family members. No new donations in 24 hours. My voicemail indicator blinks as I end the call. Elaine's voice fills my kitchen, sounding smaller than I remember. "Natalie, we should talk about what happened with David's will. There are things you don't understand. Call me." I delete the message without returning the call. Next week, I stand in the doorway of Mom's kitchen, watching as she and Landon exchange nervous glances. The space feels smaller somehow, as if the walls have inched closer since I stopped bankrolling their lifestyle. Bills fan across the counter like fallen leaves, red stamped warnings peeking from beneath white envelopes. "Natalie," Mom begins, her voice honey, sweet in a way that immediately puts me on guard. "We've been thinking about our situation." Landon nods, hands clasped in front of him with uncharacteristic formality. "We want to work something out." I lean against the doorframe, arms crossed. "What kind of something?" "A compromise," Mom says, sliding a folded document across the counter toward me. "We've drafted a new will, one that includes you." I don't move to take it. The paper sits between us like a trap. "Half the house," Landon adds quickly, "and Dad's workshop stays intact." Mom's eyes flick to a stack of bills, her fingers tapping anxiously against the counter. "We just need a little help getting back on our feet. The mortgage payment is due next week, and there's the property tax coming up." "What Mom's trying to say," Landon interrupts, his tone softer than I've heard in years, "is that we might have to sell the house if things don't turn around soon." From the living room, Brittany's voice carries through the hallway as she speaks loudly into her phone. "Yeah, the oceanfront villa looks amazing. Does it have a hot tub?" Perfect for when Landon and I visit in August. Mom winces, shooting a look toward the living room before turning back to me with pleading eyes. "This house holds all our memories, Natalie. Your childhood, the holidays, your father." I take a deep breath, reaching into my bag. "I brought something to show you." Their expressions brighten with anticipation. Doubt expecting a checkbook or cash. Instead, I place a manila folder on the counter and open it to reveal a letter with official letterhead. "This is my mortgage pre-approval," I say, my voice steady. "For my own home." Mom's face goes slack. "What?" I slide another document forward, a bank statement showing a healthy savings account balance. "This is what I've managed to save since I stopped sending you money." Landon stares at the numbers, his eyes widening. "I'm not responsible for keeping you comfortable while you refuse to support yourselves," I say, pulling out another folder. "So I brought you these." I open it to reveal a stack of printed job listings, each one highlighted and annotated. Every single one of these positions is within walking distance of this house. No car needed, no excuses. I remain standing as Mom sinks into a kitchen chair, Landon following suit. For the first time in our relationship, I'm physically above them, looking down as they process my words. "You can't be serious," Landon says, shoving the job listings away. "These are service jobs." "They're honest work," I counter. "Something you've avoided for years." Mom reaches for my hand. "Natalie, please. We're family." I step back, slipping my house key from my keyring. The brass catches the light as I place it deliberately on the counter, with a soft clink that somehow echoes through the kitchen room where every family decision has been made, where Dad and I used to make Sunday pancakes, where I've stood countless times emptying grocery bags I could barely afford. "But we're family," Landon protests, color rising in his cheeks. "You can't just leave us hanging." "Family supports each other," I say, my voice low but firm. "They don't drain each other dry." Mom's face hardens. "Your father would be so disappointed." The words are meant to land like a slap, but I'm prepared. I reach into my pocket and unfold a worn piece of paper, Dad's handwriting instantly recognizable. "Actually, I found this in his workshop toolbox," I say, smoothing the letter on the counter. "It's dated 3 weeks before he died." Mom's eyes dart to the paper, but she doesn't reach for it. I read aloud, "My dear Natalie, I've watched you grow into a woman of incredible strength and independence. While others might see your practicality as coldness, I see how deeply you care through your actions rather than empty words. I'm so proud of the boundaries you're learning to set and ever apologize for protecting yourself. All my love, Dad." The kitchen falls silent. Even Brittany's chatter from the other room has stopped. "Dad always saw me clearly," I say, carefully refolding the letter. "That's something you never did." I turn to leave, but pause at the doorway. "The furniture is paid off. The car too. You have assets you can sell before the house, or you could get jobs like everyone else." As I walk to my car, the weight I've carried for years seems to lift with each step. My phone buzzes with a text message as I slide into the driver's seat. 2 weeks later, my cousin mentions that Landon has started dropping off applications at local businesses. I delete the message without responding. December approaches, and the annual family Christmas gathering looms. 3 separate relatives have asked if I'll attend, their messages carefully worded to avoid taking sides. I haven't answered any of them. My phone lights up with a new text as I'm hanging David's old workshop calendar in my apartment. It's from Aunt Sharon. "Coffee next week? Just you and me. Away from Elaine." I look at the message for a long time, thumb hovering over the screen, wondering what comes next. In April next year, I hang the last of Dad's tools on the pegboard wall in my new home, stepping back to admire the careful arrangement. The worn wooden handles gleam under the soft garage lighting, each one positioned exactly where my hands will reach for them naturally, just like Dad taught me. "Perfect," I whisper, running my fingers over his favorite handplane. Unlike those months of agonizing over Mom's approval, this decision how to arrange his cherished tools comes easily, without second-guessing. Last night, I slept straight through until morning for the 3rd time this week. No jolting awake at 3 a.m. wondering if another manipulative text had arrived, no calculating how many more months of support payments would delay my down payment. The financial stability chart on my refrigerator shows the steady climb since I stopped the transfer's 6 months of growth instead of depletion. The doorbell chimes through the my house with its freshly painted walls and hardwood floors that need no one's approval but my own. "Coming," I call, setting down Dad's level and making my way to the front door. The housewarming gathering is small but meaningful, exactly what I wanted. Margaret arrives first, a potted peace lily cradled in her arms. "You did it," she says, looking around with genuine admiration. "This place is beautiful, Natalie." I welcome each guest with a confidence I barely recognize in myself. When Margaret's husband asks about my family, I answer without the usual twist of shame in my stomach. "They're not part of my life right now," I say simply. "My family is the one I've chosen, the people who support my growth rather than stunt it." The words flow easily, without the rehearsed quality they once had. Margaret squeezes my hand, understanding the journey those words represent. Later, we gather in the backyard where string lights twinkle overhead. The spring evening carries the scent of blooming jasmine from the neighboring yard. My small patio table, another weekend project, completed with Dad's tool shelves, an assortment of desserts and wine glasses. Margaret raises her glass. To building foundations that last. The others join in, glasses clinking as sunset paints the sky above my new home. My home. The phrase still sends a thrill through me each time I think it. And to the builder, adds Ken, Margaret's husband, nodding toward the garage where Dad's tools hang, both the original and his worthy successor. The following weekend, I begin transforming the back section of the garage into a proper workshop. I position Dad's workbench beneath the window where natural light streams in during the morning hours. The local community college catalog sits open on the kitchen counter, the woodworking class schedule circled in red. Next term, I'll be teaching a beginner's course, something Dad always talked about doing when he retired. At work, my promotion came through last week. My boss mentioned specifically how my renewed focus and creative energy had impressed the entire department. The late nights once spent calculating how to stretch my budget to cover Mom's demands now fuel projects that advance my career. Driving home from the hardware store with supplies for building display shelves for my future students' projects, I pass a construction site with a "now hiring" sign. For a moment, I consider texting the information to Landon. My thumb hovers over his contact information, still saved in my phone despite everything. Then I smile and drive on, turning up the radio as I head toward home. As I drove home that evening, I wondered if true freedom comes from completely cutting ties or from maintaining them at a safe distance. Can some family relationships be salvaged once boundaries are established? Or are some dynamics too toxic to ever be healthy? What would you choose? A clean break or carefully managed distance?